Welcome back, everyone. This is the Power of Percussion podcast, and I'm Kay Michelle Lewis. I will be your host for today. My next guest is from the Bay Area in lovely California. Everybody, please welcome Jeni Swerdlow to the show. Hi, Jeni.
Hi, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being on the show this evening. I just want to say that I'm a huge fan of yours. I've been following you for the past several years, just in the whole drum circle community and the rhythmic event community. You're doing some amazing things out there in California. Can you kind of like tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell us how you kind of got started with this whole I think it's called, right? Rhythmic
Drum,
events.
yes, triple M, because drumming is good. So yeah, I've been facilitating drum circles and rhythm-based events for the last 20 years. I did not start out as a drummer. I started out as a visual artist who fantasized about being a drummer for many years, and had to go through some kind of major life changes when I was in my late 20s to bring me to a point where I was ready to drum. And that included losing my home in a fire, leaving an unhealthy relationship, leaving a job that I was burnt out from. That finally brought me to this point where I realized that I was ready for a change. The universe told me it was time to change. I started asking questions about what I wanted to create and what I had been holding myself back from. And I finally decided that what I needed to do was get a djembe, a West African hand drum, and sign up for a class in Chicago, where I was living at the time. And that class completely changed my life and opened a door to all kinds of possibilities for connection, for healing, for transformation. And it really helped pave the way for, my own work and discovery with myself, which then has informed my work with, 10,000 people a year approximately for the last 20 years.
Wow. That is impressive. And it sounds like you went from Chicago. How did you get from Chicago to where you're at now? Talk a little bit about that.
So I had originally gone out to Chicago for graduate school. I have a master's in art therapy. And I love Chicago, but after 11 winters, I was done. I was ready to get back out to California. And the year before I did that, I put the word out through the Drum Circle community, Facilitation community, that I was doing the, quote, Will Drum for Food tour.
Oh, wow.
And I went on a tour of the western half of the United States for about 5 months, looking to drum and connect and teach and learn and facilitate, and hopefully find what was going to be my next home. And when I landed in Oakland, California, I knew that I had come home. And so, give it, several months, and the following winter, I finally made the jump. And 13 years ago, I landed in Oakland and hit the ground running, and have been, drumming a path ever since.
That's incredible. That is just amazing. I love it. And so, do you find like a connection between art? You're an artist. Do you find a connection between art and drumming?
Yes. Well, I think, all of the arts, we call it expressive arts, right? Anything that taps into feeling, taps into, a way to share an experience, taps into a way for you to express what's on the inside, to make it seen, to make it heard, to make it, felt. I'm for all of that. visual art making is very different from drumming. You know, it tends to be a pretty solo activity. And for me, you know, the connection was between myself and the materials, the art materials that I was using. And I found that when I started drumming, you know, one of the great things was it's a social activity.
Yeah.
You know, it connects us with other people. And with each person's, you know, special, unique contribution, creativity, whatever you want to call it, you know, we can create something that is bigger than each of us as individuals.
Yeah.
So that's what's really, you know, one of the things that's really exciting to me about drumming and rhythm and music is just the collaborative and the social aspect of it.
Absolutely. And so why do you feel like you're so passionate about percussion? You know, you made that jump to a whole other career.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you so passionate about this percussion thing and these rhythmic events?
That's a great question. And I mean, 20 something years later, I'm still so excited and so passionate about it. You know, it touches, I think you know, rhythm touches us on a really kind of deep primal level. And as I explain in all of my programs, you know, if you have a heartbeat, you have rhythm. And rhythm is something that is inside of us, you know, in our heartbeat, in the way that we walk, in the way that we talk, in the way that we breathe. And it's all around us. I mean, the universe is pulsing in rhythm. It's everywhere. So, you know, I feel a very deep connection there. And the experience of drumming for me does so many things. You know, it gets me out of thinking mode and gets me into the present moment, which for some of us who are thinkers, having those moments where we're not thinking is liberation.
Yes.
It's a way to be creative. It's a way to be playful. And I just enjoy the heck out of it. And when I first became interested in drumming, you know, I couldn't get enough of it. I mean, I was taking West African drumming, and I started doing Middle Eastern drumming, and I joined all of these, you know, bands and performance ensembles, and I just wanted to drum all the time. And that spilled over into my work as an art therapist, where at the time I was working with juvenile sex offenders in residential treatment. So basically teenage boys who were dealing with a lot of stuff. And I would bring my drum into work and into our sessions. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, here, let's just see, let's play, let's explore. And I found that these kids really responded to the drum in a very natural and unselfconscious way. And that I was able to build a relationship with several of them in a way that I hadn't been able to through the art making. And that really made me think about the possibilities. You know, how can I harness this technology? How can I utilize this in a way that can help other people connect, express, heal, communicate, etc. And it's still, you know, every event does that. I mean, I'm always, it never ceases to amaze me the way that rhythm and drumming can impact an individual and a group.
Yeah, so that touches on the question that I had coming up about the words power of percussion and what it makes you think of. You've already touched on that a little bit. Are there things that have happened in your groups that your events that you have that you've noticed this power, this technology you called it, this old technology that we still have running all over the country? This power of percussion, what does it make you think of when you've noticed people in your groups?
You know, it's a great question. I'm blessed to be able to work with so many different kind of groups. So, in any given week, I might spend one day working with, tech executives at Google or Facebook. And then the next day I'm at a skilled nursing facility. And then the day after that, I'm at a school. And then I'm at a baby shower, and, and on and on and on. And the power is in, I think, the underlying ability to connect, right? And to me, at the heart of it is connection, right? There's power in connection.
Absolutely.
So it's an opportunity to connect with oneself. Some people might say, connecting the mind body, or, dropping into, whatever's real and true and present for you in that moment. An opportunity to connect with the other people in the room and co-create an experience in the moment. And also an opportunity to discover, some bigger connection or bigger meaning. And depending on who I'm working with and what the objectives are, I will frame the experience around this is a team building activity, and there's power in that, in a team feeling really in sync and in harmony and connected with one another. And I work with groups where, with women or other, people who, are healing from a variety of issues, where the experience can be really empowering in surprising ways. With seniors who are maybe dealing with dementia, that rhythm can bring them back into the room, and into a state of consciousness, that maybe wasn't there. So there's so many ways to utilize this to bring out whatever kind of power, whatever kind of response an individual needs to have in that moment.
Yeah, you've got quite a long list of places that you've worked with over this amount of time. That's got to be incredible to see that many different responses to each event, because no event is the same. They I mean, is that kind of your experience too? Like, they're all different because they bring different dynamic of people. But you've gone through thousands of those. That is really incredible.
It is, and people say to me, well, who do you like working with the best? And it's, well, whoever I'm working with that day. If I'm going into a preschool and I get to I get to drum with a bunch of 3-year-olds, that's awesome, right?
Yeah.
If I get to go to a wedding and connect 150 wedding guests, who are celebrating, love and merging of families and, connection that way, that's the best experience ever. It is always different. And I love not knowing, who or what's going to show up in the room, and finding that spark, that magic, that sweet spot, and really helping a group achieve its full, musical and human potential. I mean, that's really where it's at for me, is like, okay, this is what we're coming in with. Where can we take it? Where can we go?
Yeah. Well, is there a particular story of anything that you can think of with a person in any of your groups that you've done? You've done thousands of them. That the person was impacted so much that it was just like, it hit you. It was so powerful. Like, whoa, that person just transformed in this 1 hour. Is there a story that you can think of?
I see it all the time.
I know.
You know,
You're going to have to just choose one of them because I know you've got thousands you could pull from.
I mean, one story that comes to mind just about the power of drumming and connection and the bonding and the relationships that form has to do with I've been hosting a monthly drum circle in Berkeley for the last 10 years. And there's an older couple that would come most months, not every month, but, they came quite often for, I don't know, maybe a year or more. And the man of the couple, he was dealing with some dementia, and he would kind of come in and out of awareness. Sometimes he would sleep for part of the drum circle, and his wife was just so loving and supportive and taking care of him, and also participating and being an active member of this circle. And one day, one particular month, she came in without her husband, and she came up to me before we started, and she said, that her husband had passed away, and that she was, obviously, grief-stricken and very sad and lost without him, but she felt it was important for her to come. And we were able to hold space for her and acknowledge her and celebrate her husband and his, life and his spirit through the music and through the experience, and allow her to grieve in community, being witnessed and being loved and supported, and also have an opportunity to, release some of that and connect with herself in a way that, she probably hadn't been able to do for some time.
Wow. And,
she still keeps coming back to this day, and it's such a gift, just to have a space for her to be able to.
Yeah, that she feels that community and connection with others.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's beautiful. That is beautiful. Do you have any most memorable moments in these? I see pictures of you on Facebook and all these places, and you're having so much fun. It's like your energy is like contagious. Are there any like memorable moments that you've had?
So many. I have to say, I really enjoy working with large groups of people. So 100, 200, 300 or more. I just really enjoy, seizing and harnessing the energy in the room and really taking people to a place, they didn't even know imaginable. And, when I do, these team building events, for the most part, it's people who, one, had no idea that they were going to be drumming. Two, aren't necessarily thrilled or excited by the idea that they're going to be drumming. And, to be able to take a group from a point of skepticism and, being hesitant and, and resistant and all those things to a point of getting, 300 people at a conference playing together as an ensemble is really exciting to me. I did, this past year, I did a session for a group. It was through the Stanford School of Business.
Mm-hmm.
They host this international conference called Me to We. me and the number 2 and then we. And because it was bringing so many business people together from so many different parts of the world, they really wanted something that would unify them. They didn't know what they were getting into. They had no idea if it was going to work or how it would work. And I didn't, and of course I knew, but there's always you kind of have to trust the process.
Yeah.
But I'm always nervous. I just want to do a good job. I want everyone to enjoy themselves. It's really important to me that people find joy and meaning to the activity. And I had about 40 minutes with them in this concert hall. And I took them through a series of rhythmic breathing and body percussion, which is where we, clap and tap and stomp and that kind of thing. And eventually started orchestrating the room using boom whackers, which for people who aren't familiar are these colorful tuned plastic percussion tubes.
Yeah.
You either whack together or whack on your body, and they make a very pleasing noise and a sound, and you can orchestrate lots of things based on the colors and the tones and that kind of thing. So they went from this, everybody kind of seated with their arms crossed and their legs crossed, holding these plastic things that they were like, what do we do with these? What am I doing here? What is this? They had no idea what was coming.
Uh-oh.
And then the next thing they knew, they were up on their feet and they were making music and they were doing rhythm. And then the tubes came in and they were, all of a sudden, they were an orchestra.
Yeah.
And then not only were they an orchestra where I was, there was, 5 different sections with each one playing their own distinct rhythm, but eventually they were making up their own rhythms, and a bunch of people came up on stage and started facilitating the group and cheering and screaming and dancing. And they're still talking about it. I mean, it's been it's been over a year, and I'm still getting messages from them about how memorable it was. That's just one example. I mean, every event has the ta-da moments.
Yeah, like little sparks. Bright sparks. That's amazing. I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah, I can imagine that. I can kind of see that. They have these things in their hands and they're like, what are we doing? And then surprise.
Exactly.
So you brought some magic to their life, and they're still talking about it. That's really great. So I want to ask you this. When you do those events that are like hundreds of people, do you have that many drums, or do you combine that with accessory percussion? What does it look like in a group like that?
Great question. Yeah, it really depends on the group and the needs and how much space and time and budget and all kinds of things like that. For that particular group, which was, I think, about 350 people, it made sense to use the boom whackers, the percussion tubes. I have in my kit, my collection, about 800 pieces that include, full-size drums like djembes and doumbeks and tubanos and that kind of thing, along with frame drums and, other kind of smaller drums, as well as a whole assortment of handheld percussion, shakers, bells, wood blocks, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of factors that go into deciding like what's going to work best for this specific group. Personally, because I'm a drummer, where I love playing drums, actual drums, whenever possible, I want to have a drum for every person. Whenever I can do that, I want to give people that experience. And some people think differently about that. They want to have a third drums and a third percussion, and a third, well, I guess it would be a third big drums, third small drums, third percussion, or something like that. But I want to give people as much of the drumming experience as possible.
Yeah. It's different. I mean, it's very different playing a drum versus a shaker or a tambourine. It's like drumming is a kind of like a full body experience, and that vibration that comes off of the drum that goes inside it. I mean, it's a whole different experience. So
It is.
completely understand.
Yeah. And one thing I do a lot, if it's a group of 100 or less, is that I'll have everybody start out on a drum. And I'll do, a certain, repertoire or whatever, my thing, my shtick, get everybody engaged and, all the stuff where everybody's, in it and synchronized. And then I offer the handheld percussion. So I'll bring in, the bells and the chimes and the blocks and different things. And because at a certain point, people's hands start hurting because they've been beating the crap out of the drums.
Right.
And, some of these other sounds come in, and since they've gotten their yayas out and they're now all connected and unified, that's when the music really starts to come out, right? And there's more space between the notes, and there's more rhythmical dialogue, and bringing in those sounds later in the session, I find really can open up a lot of musicality and, unexpected results.
Yeah, it adds a whole flavor, a new flavor of sound to the texture. It changes, and people's ears perk up and go, "Oh, what was that? That's really cool."
Right. And people start to realize that their individual, special, unique contribution matters.
Right. Yeah. So you said you mentioned all these drums that you have, and you said you had this favorite djembe at one point in time early on. Is the djembe still one of your favorite instruments?
Yes. I have a beautiful goat-skinned djembe that was that I got from one of my teachers by the name of Bolakada Konde, who's from Guinea, West Africa. That drum just sings, and I love playing it. I also am very much drawn to all kinds of bass drums. So I have several sets of Dunun, West African bass drums that I love. I also play surdo, which are the Brazilian samba bass drums. Really anything with bass I very much resonate with. And I love doumbek, and I love frame drum, and I love drum set, and
all of them.
but my special djembe and any kind of bass drum are what resonate the most with me.
Okay, cool, very cool. And if if there's somebody out there who wanted to come to one of your events, would they have to bring their own, or could they use the ones that you have, or how does that work for your events?
I always provide drums and percussion. So if someone's hiring me for a session, I bring it all. If it's a community event or, a public event, I usually bring enough for anybody. And then people are welcome to bring their own if they have, a special drum that they want to bring.
Very cool. Awesome. So if somebody's looking for drumming or rhythmic events, what can they expect when they go to one of your events?
They can expect to have an experience that is engaging, meaningful, and fun as an individual and part of the group. That they will tap into their own rhythmic sensibility that they maybe weren't even aware of, and be able to draw their own connections or meaning from the experience. And we usually at the end of a program always have some time for reflection and sharing. I never try and tell people what they're going to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I do always invite people to reflect on it and share. So I can guarantee that people will get something out of it.
I love it.
And usually it's, at least a fun time and a sense of connection and rhythm and play.
Yes. Did you ever think you would be helping another person by way of this drumming and rhythmic event? Yeah. Did you ever think you would be helping somebody?
Not through rhythm. I thought that the visual art making process was my tool, as a therapist, that was how I was going to engage and connect and help people express themselves and heal. But once I started drumming, it became clear that rhythm, for me, rhythm is the way. It's not the only way, but it is a strong pathway. So I never dreamed that drumming would hit me in such a deep and meaningful way, and that it would become my mission and my passion and my purpose for being here on earth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it helped you. It clearly helped you.
Yes, and that I had to go over my own, get out of my own way and out of my own head and go through my own struggles to get to a point where I was able to pick up a drum and do that. That informs my approach every single time. So I'm so glad that I eventually listened to, that voice that was telling me to do it. And I aim to be a bridge for other people to, have their own experience with it as well.
Well, I am so grateful that you found your way to the drumming, because you're just, I mean, I remember the last time I went out to California and we were trying to connect, and it just didn't, I was too far away from where you were at, and I was like, oh man, I just really want to go to one of her events. And so here I am in Kentucky, and I still want to go to one of your events, and eventually I'm going to make it, because your energy is just so great, so good. And I think a lot of you, and really can't wait to get out there to attend one of your events.
Thanks. Well, things are moving online pretty quickly, so there'll probably be an opportunity really soon, at least online and in the virtual sense, for us to connect in that way.
Yeah.
And you're welcome. You're welcome here anytime.
Awesome. So if somebody's looking for your services, where can they go? Where can they find you?
Well, best place would be to go to my website, which is drum.com. That's drum with a triple M, because drumming is good. They can find drum rhythmic events on Facebook, on Instagram. I have a YouTube channel, Jeni, Jeni, at drum.com will get you to me directly. And so on and so forth.
Very good. Yeah, awesome. Well, you guys need to reach out to this woman, because she is doing some amazing things out there. I wanted to ask you this too. You mentioned you worked with like little kids all the way up. Do you go all the way up to like 100?
106 is my yes.
Whoa!
Yes.
Really? Wow.
Yes. She's the senior member of the seniors group. I do a monthly group in San Francisco. It's a senior living facility, and she's 106. She's been coming to the group since she was only 105.
Oh my gosh!
And she comes every month. She stays for the whole hour, and she plays her heart out.
Okay, so I think everybody, we found the fountain of youth. We just found it right here. It's called Drum Rhythmic Events. You've found your fountain of youth. Go check it out. That's amazing. 106?
106.
Wow. Oh, that person's my hero. Oh, wow.
Mine too.
Well, do you notice any similarities between these age groups? I mean, that's a wide difference right there. Do you notice a difference or similarities between those groups?
Yeah, the rhythm is inside of each and every one of us. We are hardwired for it. So no matter what our level of functioning, our age, our gender, our culture, our species is hardwired for rhythm, and it doesn't take a lot, and it doesn't have to be fancy, or fast or complex, for people to tap into that. And I see it in the 3-year-olds, and I see it in the 106-year-olds, and everybody in between. It's really, something very vital and part of our human existence.
That is beautiful. Yes. Well, is there anything else that you would like to share with everybody?
I'm just so grateful that you invited me, and it's so wonderful to have an opportunity to share about my experiences. I mean, obviously, as you've mentioned, I'm very passionate. There's so much love, and joy, and intention that I bring, and it's just nice to be able to share that, and hopefully the people who are listening, I'm hoping are getting something out of it. And if there's anything that I can do to support, other facilitators or drummers or newbies or anybody on their path, I'm more than happy to do it.
Yeah.
Because I think that the world right now, what we need more than ever is connection through rhythm.
Most definitely. Yeah, that is very powerful. Well, Jeni, I want to thank you for coming on the show tonight. And most of all, I want to thank you for sharing your love and your passion for percussion and the power it possesses in your life and the lives of all the thousands and thousands of people you've connected with over the past 20 or so years.
Thank you. Thank you. It's really an honor and a pleasure.
All right. Well, you have a beautiful rest of your evening. And everybody, go check out Drum Rhythmic events. You can check out Jeni's Facebook page, YouTube page, Instagram, Twitters, all of the pages. And yes, go check it out because she is amazing.